Yo, I don't know what's up with this winter this year. It feels like it's just never going away and it just keeps dipping from cold to colder. But the next few videos that I'm working on requires me to be outside and I'm just not in the mood right now. So once again, you're gonna get me in my lovely home fleece jacket, in my cozy pajamas, and we're gonna be talking about some film photography pickups I've been making. Of course, we're gonna be talking about some new lenses, some slight modifications to the things that I already own, and a couple books that I picked up. As I re-enter my gear review girly era for this YouTube channel, once again, the camera brands are starting to reach back out to one of their favorite hoe bags of the internet. I haven't spoken about this in a long time on this channel, but in the realm of alternative M-mount glass, Typoc ended up sending me two of their f1.4 lenses from the Samara line in the 28mm and in the 75mm. These are actually my first f1.4 lenses that I've owned in a film photography setup because I've been pretty terrified in manually focusing a photo at 1.4. I just have a fear of missing all the time. So again, they send me the 28mm 1.4 Samara and the newly announced, hopefully by the time this video comes out, the newly announced 75mm 1.4 Samara. And it's pretty funny how they sent me two of these lenses because it perfectly matches my other two lenses that I usually use, which is my 28 Chron and my 75mm Sumerit. In this video, I'm going to just quickly go over my first impressions of it, and both of them will have their own video reviews that'll be more extensive in kind of like my opinions and my takes on them. But my first impressions are that they're pretty darn good. Like, their build quality is super nice, the aperture is really heavy and clicky, and of course, they produce great results, which is the most important thing. With how things were going with my other lenses in my 28 Chron, which is an f2, and my 75mm Sumerit, which is an f2.5, I would say that I've been doing pretty good with the types of projects and photos that I've been creating with them. And I don't really find myself in those situations where I need that extra stop of light in an f1.4 lens. But thanks to Typoc, I do have more flexibility with that extra stop of light. But the tricky thing about f1.4 is that yes, you do get more light and you avoid underexposure, and for film that's like pretty terrible when that does happen when you want to make a great image. 1.4 starts to creep into that territory of just losing too much context and almost having too amateur-y of a photo look to things. Because I'm not used to shooting with that type of bokeh presence, sometimes I feel like I'm missing too much of a real feel to my photos. It kind of reminds me when I first got an f1.4 lens back in my early days of photography, and I just chose to shoot wide open all the time because, well, I can. And I definitely don't intend to always shoot wide open with both of these lenses, because in my opinion, in good photographic storytelling, you do have to pick the right aperture for that scene, and f1.4 isn't always the answer. So at the time of this recording, I've only had these lenses for like 2-3 days, so I haven't fully explored my own workflow with them, and I've only pumped like 2 to 3 rolls through them as well, just to get a feel of what they kind of give. But by the time those full review videos come out, I'll have much more work to show and a much more developed opinion about them. So not too long ago, I made a lens review of my 75mm Sumerit, and I do love that lens for my street photography. I think it's fast, I think it provides a really great look, but the biggest obstacle of using that lens is composing, because for my Leica M6 with a 0.72x magnifier, composing with those smaller frame lines is a little bit difficult. But some of you were kind enough in the comment section below that recommended a 1.4 times magnifier for my Leica M6 viewfinder, and I never knew that it even existed. So I did a really quick cursory search, and wow, the Leica branded one is stupid expensive. So I almost gave up that search nearly immediately until I turned to eBay, to which I found this, the Light Lens Lab 1.4 times magnifier. So if you never heard of Light Lens Lab, they're a company based out of China, and they make a great set of replica lenses that kind of sort of bring back the old Leica vintage looks from the famous lenses like the 50 Summilux, so on and so forth. They create a lot of lenses that really do replicate those legendary looks almost to the T, at of course a fraction of the price of the originals. So I've never personally tried any of their lens inventory, but I will say that this 1.4 times magnifier is pretty clutch. So it's just this tiny little piece right here, and it comes in a nice little box, and you screw it directly onto your Leica without removing anything else. And once that's on tight, you can actually adjust the diopter for your eyesight, which is always very welcomed. And eye cups are included, but I'm probably definitely going to lose those. And voila, your magnification is to the point where the 50mm frame lines are on the very edges of your field of view and your 75mm frame lines are right in the middle. It definitely does make composing a lot easier. Just like it's going to take me time to adjust to those 1.4 lenses, it's going to be the same for this magnifier, because even though it makes it easier to compose, it just brings the worlds into magnification. And after using these cameras for so long, bringing up that viewfinder to my eyes is just second nature, and I know how to compose. So this magnifier kind of throws it off for a little bit, but I know that it will pay off in the long run. So thanks to the people that recommended it, it is going to be really nice, especially with this Typox 75. On the topic of minor modifications, Square Hood sent me their new square hood for my 28mm Cron V1. If you're not familiar with the differences between the version 1 and the version 2 of the 28mm Summicron by Leica, well, here's a quick little rundown. The only difference is the hood that's included, and that's your rundown. After posting my Hong Kong photography video, which you should totally watch right up here, I mentioned that I got my 28 Cron V1 from there, and Square Hood reached out to me. They said, hey, I want to send you this new product that we have, and it's going to set you square away, no pun intended. And I think that this product is so genius because the version 2 of this lens is so much more expensive. The price disparity doesn't make any sense, hence the Leica tax moniker. But the V1 and the V2 are optically the same, but you're paying $600 to $800 more for that threaded square hood. Now, it is a really good addition just from an aesthetic standpoint, but now with the square hood product, you could just slap it onto your V1, save yourself $600 to $800, and you can still have the same optical performance as the V2. Obviously, this product doesn't make your images look any better, but aesthetics are important for tools that you use every day. Or at least that's what I tell myself to cope with the expensive gear that I own. Alright, so I'm going to talk about two photo books today, and the first one is called Flutter, and this book is by David Zhang. This is his 5th self-published book, and I actually made a really nice documentary piece on the creation of this book, and if you want, the link should be on the top right corner of the screen. David put an insane amount of work into creating this piece, even down to hand binding each of the books for every single person that bought them, which I think is low-key psychotic, but this man loves every single step in the process of his art. Flutter is probably one of the most creatively sequenced books I've owned to date, and serves as a great reminder to all photographers that book sequencing is an art in and of itself and shouldn't be taken for granted. The way the creativity shows is not only in the order in which the photos are presented, but even the type of paper it's printed on. Most of the pages are abstract scenes of nature, either gentle or somewhat violent, and shows this sort of arrival of beauty. My sort of highlight, standout parts of the book are these translucent pages that surprised me in the layers that were intentionally created in the book itself. Because I do think about layers in my own photography, but I've never thought about creating layers in the book. So when you flip through these translucent pages, you just kind of see this image be created, or this image that is revealed to you. So please, all you viewers out there, comment down below on another photo book out there that does it like this. This was such an inspiring design decision. What I love about books that show work like this is that the contrast from these photos to mine sort of spark a different perspective in my own photography. As in, can I adopt or learn artistic language from this type of photography? And there was one technical aspect I learned from the privilege I had of witnessing the creation of these prints, and that was in the dodging, burning, printing, retouching process. When it comes to my black and white work, I rarely do any dodging and burning or any local adjustments to my photos, but seeing the start to finish of David's dedication to bringing out tonality in his photos was something I brought into my post-processing. I have not seen anyone work on their photos like this before, so it was definitely eye-opening. So the lion's share of the work present in this book was shot back in San Francisco in 2019. Some were made here in New York, and all of it was printed in the darkroom. And I only witnessed one photo being made, but I'm sure it was a painstaking process to get all these photos right, and I've seen it plenty of times where he would just do little touch-ups to perfect it after the photo was printed. So shout out to David for releasing his new book, Flutter. It is an incredible project, and if you're interested in buying it, there's a link down in my description box below. And if you are local to New York or plan to visit New York around this time, David will be having a gallery for Flutter on this date, and if you have time, please go visit. It's going to be an incredible exhibition. The next book that we're going to talk about is Richard Avedon's Portraits. In the first few months I lived here in New York, I went to a gallery that showcased an incredible, impressive collection of Richard Avedon's portraits. There was work from all throughout his career, but some of the gargantuan prints I saw in that gallery are in this book. It's really hard to put into words why Avedon's portraits have this incredible feel to them, but there's this unspeakable quality that really makes me stop and stare at them. During his time, he photographed all sorts of people of all backgrounds. I'm a big fan of his group portraits because there are some that look extremely posed and there are some that looks like they were just photographed candidly. He probably does pose people in a way that makes it look like it was free, and it kind of just feels like these people were given a boundary within this frame and they were just allowed to swim freely within it. I also love how he composes his portraits. The way he fills the frame with his subjects where the top of their heads are just mere centimeters from the border, and some of them are even bleeding outside the border, which I think is like pretty cool. And the expressions are just so impactful or free feeling or just simply captivating. A lot of people study how Avedon lights his portraits as well. He has a very signature look to all of his work. But what baffles me the most is that he's commissioned to photograph these people, right? To tell the story of these humans without their domain or environmental context behind them to tell it. And all of these photos solely rely on the connection Avedon has with these subjects, and he's able to bring their energy out into the frame. That right there is masterful. One camera, some lights, and a white background, and this dude just makes magic. Of course, not all of his photos are like that, but those are the ones that I love the most. Most of his work is on 4x5 or 8x10 large format film. Will I ever mess with large format film for my own work? I have no idea, probably not, but I know what goes into it, and I would love to have an assistant for that. But Richard Avedon is one of my favorite portrait photographers out there. And before we close, I would love to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace provides some of the industry-leading tools for making a portfolio for photographers like us who want to be taken seriously. I recently renovated my website to be more focused on my documentary work. Squarespace allows a lot of customizability from their award-winning templates to something as simple as changing the background to black. I love how my website feels more mature, and if I have any questions or problems, I know I can contact the 24/7 customer service to get myself squared away. You can start a free trial today at squarespace.com/ChrisChew. Use my code ChrisChew at checkout for 10% off your first purchase. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. All right, everyone, that's it for my February 2025 film photography pickups. I hope you guys enjoyed what I got, and I'm excited to make more videos with each piece of kit that I showed in this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.